Today, we would continue looking at some numerical examples, especially those concerning all-day efficiency of the transformer. This is one of them. We are given a 15 kVA 2000 to 200 volt transformer. Iron loss is 250 watt and full load copper loss is 350 watt. Iron loss is constant more or less with load. Now the entire 24-hour cycle is divided into 4 time slots. 9-hour slot in which the load is only 1/4. That means the secondary current is only 1/4 of the rated value. And the power factor is also given there, 0.6. You don't need to know whether it's lagging or leading for these calculations. Then for 7 hours, it is full load operation with power factor improving to 0.8. And for 6 hours, it is 3 divided by 4, 75% of the rated value of secondary current, and full unity power factor. For 2 hours, there is nothing connected. So what is eta all day? Eta all day is the energy output in this period divided by energy input. We calculate energy output, we calculate energy loss, and then the sum of the two will give us energy input. That's how we operate. So in the 9-hour period, the load is 1/4. Now full load copper loss is given as 350 watts. Copper loss depends on the square of the magnitude of the current. Right. So if the current is 1/4 of the rated value, first of all, let's calculate the rated value. Just out of curiosity. 15 kVA is the recommended rating. That divided by 2000 volt will give us primary current full load, and 15 kVA divided by 200 volts will give us the secondary current full load. That's what I've done here. Rated value of secondary current is 75 amperes. We are talking magnitudes. And rated current of primary current, rated value of primary current at full load is 7.5 amperes. Now, 1/4 load means secondary current is 1/4 of 75 amperes. And primary current also is 1/4 of the recommended value. And the method to calculate the copper loss is simple enough. You take the full load value multiplied by 1/4 squared. Because current is going down by 1/4, so copper losses will go down by 1/60. So 350 watt multiplied by 1 divided by 16. That gives us 21.875 watt. Iron loss is not going to change. It will remain as 250 watt. So you take the total of these two losses and multiply it by the number of hours in this time period, which is 9, to get the total energy loss in this period in kilowatt hour. Okay, so that number turns out to be 2.44 something kilowatt hour. Now, how about the energy output in this period? First, you need to calculate the power output and then multiply it by 9 hours. Power output is magnitude of Vs multiplied by magnitude of Is multiplied by the power factor. We would assume that the voltages in primary and secondary are the same throughout throughout the 24-hour period. Because that info is not given, so we would go by the ideal case. Okay, so 200 volt is the value of secondary voltage. Secondary current is full load value divided by 4 and power factor is 0.6. So we do the calculation. The power output in this 9-hour period is 2250 watt. You multiply it by 9 to get watt hour and then convert it to kilowatt hour. So the energy out, I am denoting energy by W. Some people do it by E, which is fine. So the total energy output in this 9-hour period is 20.25 kilowatt hour. To that you add the loss in energy, which we have calculated already as 2.4468 something. So the input energy in this 9-hour period is 22.696875 kilowatt hour. I have prepared a table where the first entry is based on the calculations we have done in the previous page. It's important to have this table because that helps in doing things in a systematic manner. Although a lot of books do not follow this approach, I prefer to do it this way. Now, in the next time period, which is 7 hours, and that is, I think, full load. Let me go back. Yeah, it's full load. So copper loss will remain as given, which is 350 watts. Power factor is 0.8. Okay. Yeah, B. So W loss will be P iron plus P copper full load, which is 600 watts multiplied by 7 hours. So loss of energy is 4.2 kilowatt hour in this period. Output energy, the same formula, but now the full load current has to be brought in, which is 75 amperes. Power factor is also different now. So put the new number. You get the total energy output in this period as 84 kilowatt hour. To that, you add 4.2 kilowatt hour to get the total energy input. So these entries go in the table in the second row. Okay. Then let's do the same thing for the third case, which is, I think, it's a pain to go back again, which is 3/4 load and 1 power factor. Okay, and 6 hours. Sorry, C. 6 hours. Yeah, I have written it here. Good. Now, the copper loss will go down by a factor 3/4 squared. So we repeat the calculation. We got the energy loss as 2.68125 kilowatt hour. The output energy can be calculated by method we have already looked at. Calculate the power first, which is 75 into 3/4 into 200 into power factor, which is 1, and multiplied by the number of hours. So we get 67.5 kilowatt hour as the output energy in this period. Input energy will be the total of loss and output energy. So these numbers go in the third row. The fourth one is a no load situation. So power factor info is not needed. And it's only 2 hours. In no load, output power is 0. Input power will be simply equal to the loss power. There is no current in primary or secondary windings, so copper losses will be 0. Only iron loss will continue to be there. So W loss is simply iron loss. Sorry, W loss is iron loss in watts multiplied by the number of hours, which is 2. Okay. So energy loss is 0.5 kilowatt hour, and that is also the energy input because there is no energy output in no load case. So I put that fourth entry also. And then I sum up the results in the last two columns. Total energy output is 20.25 kilowatt hour plus 84 kilowatt hour plus 67 kilowatt hour plus 0. That turns out to be 171.75 kilowatt. Total energy input similarly is 181.578 something kilowatt hour. So you take the ratio of the two values and multiply by 100 to get the answer. I'm being quite stupid here by putting so many digits after the decimal. I realize that. I did it for mathematical completeness. You don't really have to be that accurate. These are approximate calculations anyway. So pardon me for that. I have put too emphasis on doing it mathematically correct. Probably 181.57 or 58 is all you need. 2-digit accuracy is more than enough most of the time. Okay. So the answer turns out to be 94.59%. You can double check the numbers later. Now, second problem says, repeat this problem but calculate power efficiency for each of the periods. The data can be taken from the previous table. In 9-hour period, output power was 2250 watt. Loss power was 271.875 watt. This is ratio of powers, not ratio of energy that we want to calculate for each of the time periods, just out of curiosity. So we calculate the input power, take the ratio, the efficiency in the 9-hour period, the power efficiency in the 9-hour period turns out to be 89.22%. Okay, fine. In the second period, you repeat the calculations with the new numbers. The number turns out to be 95.24% in the 7-hour period. It's a variable number, obviously. And in the third case, it turns out to be 96.18%. And in the fourth case, it is 0 for sure. There's no output. Just out of curiosity, I did these calculations. Okay. Now, next one. Okay, this is not about all-day efficiency, but about a simple calculation on voltage regulation, which is no load voltage minus full load voltage divided by full load voltage, and the entire thing multiplied by 100. Only magnitudes of the voltages are being considered and secondary voltages. So simple problem, consider a 2.2 kVA, 220 volt to 22 volt, 50 hertz voltage transformer with negligible core loss, negligible winding inductances, and primary resistance 2 ohm and secondary resistance 0.02. Calculate the efficiency. When they say efficiency, you always go for power efficiency. Don't worry about all-day efficiency. And voltage regulation at full load. Primary voltage is 220 volt. Secondary voltage is 22 volt. Recommended values, of course. So the turns ratio is 10. It's a step-down transformer. KVA is given. That will help us in calculating. This is the equivalent circuit, simplified. The complicated equivalent circuit we had done in previous classes is now reduced in this particular case to a simple one. No parallel path because core losses are negligible. Series paths also have only resistances. Inductances are negligible. That's what we have been told. Okay. So this is the equivalent circuit. You should be able to draw equivalent circuit based on the info given to you. Whatever I have given you is a generic circuit. It has to be simplified based on what is given to you. By default, we always assume dot convention as if both the dots are on the top. That means EP and ES are in phase and IP and IS are also in phase. Now, at no load, obviously there is no loss in the windings. So ES, the EMF induced in secondary, is the same as actual voltage appearing across secondary terminals, VS. And same thing applies to VP and EP also. So no load voltage for secondary is simple enough. It is 22 volt. You will assume recommended values. At full load, what happens? Power factor is not given for the load. We would assume it's 1. Now you have to calculate the secondary current and primary current at full load. For that, you use kVA rating. 2.2 kVA divided by 220 volts will give you primary current at full load. 2.2 kVA divided by 22 volts will give us secondary current at full load. So secondary current turns out to be 100 amperes. Primary current turns out to be 10 amperes. Now secondary voltage at full load will be ES minus ISRS. No phase difference here. It's all resistive situation. So that turns out to be, putting the values of IS and RS, we get full load voltage as 20 volt. So voltage regulation is 22 minus 20 divided by 20 into 100, which is 10%. Not bad. As far as efficiency is concerned, you take the output power at full load, which is 22 volt multiplied by 100 amperes. Power factor is 1. So 2200 watt is the output power. Losses will be IP square RP plus IS square RS. And put the value for various things. You get losses as 400 watts. So input power will be 2200 watt plus 400 watt, which is 2600 watt. And now take the ratio of the two powers. 84.62% is the power efficiency. This problem can be repeated at loads other than full loads. Although I have not done for various situations, but I have done at least one case. At 3/4 load, the secondary current will be 3/4 of 75, 3/4 of 100 amperes, which is 75 amperes. And primary current will be 7.5 amperes. So VS will change now. Same formulas, but different values. VS would now become 20.5. And voltage regulation can be calculated now. It has improved to 7.32%. When load is lower, voltage regulation becomes lower, which is good for us. The copper loss and primary and secondary can be calculated with new currents. They turn out to be 225 watts. Input power would also change. It will go to 3/4 of the previous value, which was at full load. And you can do the calculations. 88% is the efficiency at 3/4 load. So efficiency also improves as load goes down. It was 84%, 84.62% at full load. It rose to 88% at 3/4 load. If you do at half load, it would further improve. Of course, that is not economical because you are not using the transformer to its best capacity. Okay. The fourth one. It's a distribution transformer. Okay, he is saying full load iron loss, but it is same for all loads. We know that. So don't get confused by the word full load. Iron loss more or less remains the same at all loads. Full load copper loss is 3.5 kilowatt. During a day, okay, it's all day efficiency again. During a day, here there is a difference compared to the previous problem that we solved for all day efficiency. There the voltages were given. Here only kVA rating is given. But we can still work it out. 6-hour slot has 300 kilowatt output with 0.8 power factor. 10-hour slot has 200 kilowatt output power with 0.7 power factor. 4 hours slot has 100 kilowatt output with 0.9 power factor, and the remaining 4 hours have no load. That's the situation. Now, important thing here is that for each of the slots, each of the time slots, you look at the power being put out divided by the power factor given to get the kVA. Compare that kVA to 400, which is the recommended value. That will tell you how much below or above the rated value of kVA you are operating. That gives us the idea about how low or how high the primary and secondary currents are compared to recommended values. I'll show it to you. For the first time slot, kVA, actual kVA is 300 divided by 0.8 because 300 kilowatt is being consumed, is being put out, and 0.8 is the power factor. So actual kVA is 375 kVA. The recommended kVA, the operating kVA is 400. So you are operating a little bit lower than the recommended value, which is fine, nothing wrong with it. Just that we need to know this to figure out copper losses. Since the rated kVA is 400, the transformer is operating at, now this efficiency, which is the ratio of two kVA values, should not be confused with power efficiency or all day efficiency. I am calling it utilization efficiency. Somebody may give it some other name. This is the utilization efficiency of the transformer. That means you are operating at 0.9375 of the rated kVA value. And currents in primary and secondary would also be 0.9375 of the recommended value. So the copper losses will go down by 0.9375 square compared to full load value. Okay. The actual value of currents in primary and secondary would be 0.9375 of the recommended value. You don't need to know the actual value. So using that fact, I think there is a bit of repetition here. Sorry about that. Okay, same page is repeated. Sorry about it. So actual PC will be 0.9375 square multiplied by the full load value, which is 3500 watt. So copper loss in this time slot is 3076.17. Iron loss, of course, is a constant given to you. Add it up to copper loss to get the total loss, and then multiplied by number of hours to get the total energy loss in this period. The total energy output, of course, is simple enough. Output power multiplied by number of hours, which is 1800 kilowatt hour. To the output energy, you add energy loss to get the input energy. Method is now similar to what we did in the previous problem. So input energy is 1833.4570 kilowatt hour in this period. Now go to part B. Here the power is 200 kilowatt in the output. That divided by power factor, which is 0.7, gives you the actual kVA, and that divided by the recommended kVA gives us the utilization efficiency. You square that efficiency and multiply it by the full load copper loss value to get the actual copper loss value. And then add it to the iron loss to get the actual full loss. And repeat the calculations again. In this case, output energy turns out to be 2000 kilowatt hour. Input energy turns out to be 2042.857 kilowatt. So I plugged in these two calculations in this table. Okay. Then I go for the third time slot. Again, I calculate utilization efficiency, which is very bad here, 0.2778. Square of that multiplied by 3500 watts gives me actual copper loss. I repeat everything like in the previous cases. I get W out equal to 400 kilowatt hour, W in equal to 411.08 kilowatt hour. I put that value also here. And the fourth case, of course, is no load case. So efficiency is 0. Actual copper loss is 0. Only thing you have is iron loss, which multiplied by number of hours will give us the energy loss. Output energy is 0. Input energy is same as energy loss. So we plug in all those values in the fourth row. And now, of course, you sum up the results in the final two columns and take the ratio. That's it. This problem I showed you last time. He had solved it in a slightly different manner, but the answer I got is exactly what he got. So I think we are okay. The ratio of 4200 and 4297.394 will give us the energy, will give us the all day efficiency, 97.93%. Okay. Now some more information about transformers besides these calculations. There are transformers called auto transformers. They are also known as variacs. What they have is only one winding, no secondary winding. And from the primary winding itself, we take voltage out based on, let's say, tapping the winding at a certain position depending on how much voltage we want out of it. It's a convenient method, practically speaking, to get a voltage. This is the diagram. You have only one winding, which is being energized, of course, using AC source. Then on the secondary side, we basically take wires out at various physical locations, so that using the potential divider rule, the voltage produced on the secondary side can be controlled depending on which tapping you are selecting. There is a switch which will connect to one of the tappings and will give us output voltage accordingly. Okay. Auto transformer or variac is very commonly used in real life. It simplifies the construction. You don't have to worry about secondary winding at all. Auto means a single winding or coil acting by itself. So be aware of this at least. Okay. And then there are other kinds of transformers also. They are called instrument transformers, which are used primarily for measurement instruments. They can be both current and potential transformers. The problem is, if you want to measure a very high current, instruments will simply burn out, no matter how well you have designed the instruments. There's no way you can measure 100 ampere current using a conventional instrument. Even the best emitter would burn up, So what we do is we use current transformers to reduce the unknown value by a factor, let's say 10 or 15 or something, that depends, and then measure the lower current, which can be measured using standard emitters, and then convert the result back using the transformation ratio to the actual value. Same thing about voltage measurements also. If the voltage to be measured is say 33 kilovolt, no voltmeter would be able to handle it. It will burn. So we reduce that 33 kilovolt to a more practical value, let's say 1000 volt or 500 volt, by using a potential transformer, and then do the measurement and then make the correction, because we know the turns ratio of the transformer. Okay. As engineers, you should be aware of these words at least. Now, we have been looking at the equivalent circuit of transformers in several different ways. There are core losses and there are copper losses. There are experimental methods to quantify these losses. And these methods are very extensive, by the way. I'll give you only a brief outline. These are known as open circuit tests and short circuit test. In one of the previous numerical problems, we actually went through open circuit or no load test, where one of the windings is left open and we measure voltage, current, and power going in the other winding. That gives us an idea about core losses or iron losses. And short circuit test means you short circuit one of the windings and apply a very small voltage to the other winding, and then you measure voltage, current, and power going in that winding, and that gives us an idea about copper losses of the transformer. These are experimental techniques used to work out the losses in a given transformer. Theories apart, this is probably a very important thing that we have invented. So open circuit test essentially has this rough schematic. We don't want to talk about primary and secondary anymore. We talk about low voltage side and high voltage side, LV and HV. Invariably, HV side is left open in this test, and HV side is left open and LV side is fed using, let's say, an AC voltage of value V1. We connect an ammeter in series with the LV winding to measure the current going in. We also connect a power meter which has two coils, pressure coil and current coil. So power P value, not Q value, only real power will be measured by this power meter. And we of course also monitor the voltage being applied by connecting a voltmeter. 3 instruments are required to carry this test. Since output or HV winding is open, not much power will go in. Whatever power is going in will actually be the core loss. That's it. So reading of the wattmeter or power meter will simply give you total core loss. You can also measure voltage and current in the LV winding, including phase shift, by using AC meters. And try to figure out the values of the equivalent circuit parameters for the core, R0 and X0, core loss resistance and core magnetizing reactance. First of all, read this. I've told you already. An auto transformer can be used for primary or to control V1. We may use a auto transformer if necessary. Generally, V1 doesn't have to be very high because small power is needed at the input anyway. And the actual voltage available to you may be quite high. So you need an auto transformer to get a low V1. Input power is read by the power meter and represents the total no load loss, which is iron loss. On the secondary side, which is the HV side, there is no current. Okay, that's simple. So the no load current in the primary, a small value, let's say I naught, represents the core losses. Copper losses are almost zero here because current flowing in the primary winding, which is LV winding, is a very small value. Copper losses can be ignored. Almost the entire loss here is due to core. Okay, so then you remember this was the parallel circuit that we used in the equivalent circuit to represent the core losses. It has one resistance and one inductance in parallel. If you know the total no load current being drawn by the transformer and you know the power factor, that means the phase shift between voltage and current, V1 and I naught, and cos of that, phase shift between V1 and the current being read by the ammeter, that can be calculated. That can be actually measured, and cosine of that will give us the power factor. So using that and these equations, you can actually figure out the current being used for magnetizing the core and current actually being lost because of resistive behavior of the core. So essentially speaking, R0 and X0 can be calculated because V1 is almost fully being applied across the core. And if you know I mu, then X0 is easy to calculate. And if you know IW, then R0 is easy to calculate. We have done a numerical example on this in the past. Directly, if you want, you can use this equation to calculate R0 from P0 and V1 also. That is also a technique. And once R0 is known, and you can take the ratio of V1 and I0 to calculate the total impedance of the core and use this formula to get X0. This is also possible. Even if you don't remember all the equations, remember the basic purpose of open circuit test. It is simply to figure out the iron losses or core loss. Now, short circuit test is the complementary one, where we short circuit the low voltage side and apply AC input through an auto transformer to the HV side. Again, we connect a voltmeter, a power meter, and an ammeter on the input side. Let's say a voltage VSC is being applied, which is going to be quite small. But you vary it until you get the ammeter reading equal to the rated current for this side of the winding. And then you do the measurements, measure the ammeter value, measure the value being displayed by the ammeter, measure the value being displayed by the voltmeter, measure the value being displayed by the power meter. A short circuit is a dangerous thing. You have to realize that. That's why we are doing it only on the LV side. And we don't want to supply too much VSC because that may burn the transformer. You got to be very careful in short circuit test. Okay. That's why we keep a variac in the game so that we can carefully control the input voltage. Yeah. You will not apply too much VSC to get the test done. Power meter reading is approximately equal to total copper loss in the transformer. Refer to the input side. Okay. But we know the turns ratio, so we can always convert the result if we want the losses in the secondary and primary to be separated. VSC magnitude divided by the total current going in will give us the total impedance of the windings of the transformer. Refer to the primary side, refer to the left side of the windings. And then we can do the required calculations. There's more detail later in this document on this test, but the basic idea is that open circuit tests are done to calculate core losses or to determine core losses experimentally, and short circuit tests are done to determine copper losses experimentally. Power efficiency, etc., can also be worked out. This is an experimental data sheet. We don't have the facilities to do this test in our institute, but in other universities, they actually do these kind of experiments. You can read this little bit. Some basic information about transformer is given. The physical basis of the transformer is mutual induction between two circuits linked by a common magnetic field. We know this. Transformer is required to pass electrical energy from one circuit to another via the medium of the pulsating magnetic field as efficiently and economically as possible. This could be achieved using either iron or steel. It serves as a good magnetic material. An elementary linked circuit is shown in figure 5. We have done all this, so I'm not going to. These equations we have already derived. They have repeated all this in the experimental data sheet. We know that V1 and E1 are almost equal. Instead of VP and EP, they are calling V1 E1, which is fine. Now, there's a lot of detail here. I don't think we want to go through each and everything, but the basics that I told you about are repeated in this diagram, and equations are repeated again. Symbols are slightly different from what I have used. Okay. Once losses are known, efficiency is easily calculated. That is also part of the game when the experiment is being done. Voltage regulation, they have given some other technique. I would prefer to stick to what we have done. Magnitude of no load voltage minus magnitude of full load voltage divided by magnitude of full load voltage. And then the result is multiplied by 100. But this can also be measured experimentally. There's no question about that. Almost all transformers, before being put in real life, are tested through all this. Theories are one thing, but we want to have more reliable information, which is done experimentally.